Hey everyone. My name's Heather Purdy. I'm product lead at Clubhouse. Clubhouse is a project management platform for software teams. So I have the opportunity to build tools that are specifically designed for all of you guys, which is a really, really cool job. I'm going to talk to you today about some learnings I had this year about launching an MVP into an established marketplace where all of our users already have a really clear understanding and expectation of what they want out of our tool. This can feel like a really daunting mission because you know that the product you're launching doesn't have that feature richness that all your competitors have, and you know you're not going to meet everyone's expectation. A couple months ago, we launched Clubhouse Write into alpha, and we're currently in beta. Clubhouse Write is a knowledge-based tool that integrates with our project management platform. It looks like this, or it will look like this very shortly. And it's a markdown text editor with a couple of cool bells and whistles at the moment. As you can see, there are a lot of documentation tools that teams can choose from at this time. Raise your hand if you're using one of these tools. Almost everybody, right? Keep your hand raised if you're using more than one of these tools. A lot of you guys. Now raise your hand if you're happy with your documentation tool. Not so many. So looking around the room, it looks like we have a lot of you who would like a better tool. So this is why we feel confident we have a lot of opportunity in this space. So going into our alpha and continuing into our beta, we ran a survey asking teams what tools they're using for different product management tasks and how they feel about those tools. And what we found out is that 35% of the teams are exclusively using our traditional tool like Google Drive or Office Suite. But 65% of teams are already have switched to a different tool that's newer in the space, so one of these guys. Additionally, we found that the vast majority of teams are unhappy with the tool that they have. Only 12%, that yellow section up there, reported being happy with their documentation tool, and that includes teams that had already switched to another tool. So we feel that this gives us a really cool opportunity to solve some actual underlying user needs in this space. So when we launched our alpha, what we wanted was to get a bunch of teams in and engage regularly with our product so that we could launch new features and get ongoing feedback. Feedback is absolutely generally the purpose of your alpha. So we wanted to see graphs like this with consistent week-over-week engagement from our users. We saw instead were graphs that look like this, where users came in, they tried us for a day or two, and then just disappeared, just crickets. And this happened a lot. Most of our teams in our alpha did not engage with our product. And so the question became why? Why did some teams engage and other teams just didn't engage with us? So using that demographic data from the survey, we were actually able to find this really cool insight where 100% of teams that were still using just Google or Office engaged with our alpha, but 0% of teams that had already switched to another tool engaged with our alpha. By the time we launched our beta, then we had actually launched a few more features, key features like at mentions that users had been asking for. So we had a little bit more engagement in our alpha than our beta. You can see the numbers are a little bit more, but generally this difference between the two user segments held true. And it was really stark, right? So we had a clear understanding that there was a specific user segment here that we could focus on. And we found that by focusing on this user segment that would engage with us, we were getting a user segment that would find the most value of our product. The other engagement problem that we ran into and really haven't started to tackle yet is getting engagement deep inside of an organization. So for example, this organization looks like they have pretty good week-over-week engagement with our product, but they have 37 users on our platform. And you can see from this data, in any given week, we're only seeing 6 users engaging with our new platform. So we really have to figure out how to get that engagement across the whole team. And that's a big challenge for us. So now that we had our user segments, we could actually pretty reliably predict how any given team coming into our beta would interact and engage with our product. But we needed to know more about why they were engaging, why they weren't engaging, and how to get more teams to engage more deeply. So of course we turned to user testing, right? That's what we all do. We turn to interviews and we start talking to users. And we did. We learned a lot about how people engage with our product, what would make them engage more. But there was a catch. When we started talking to our alpha and our beta users, as you might expect, we heard a lot of the same feedback, right? I love this cartoon. We primarily heard about all the things that we haven't built yet that all of our competitors have, right? And that validation of our roadmap was really helpful, right? But it doesn't help us drive our product vision forward. What we really needed was feedback on the product decisions we had made that differentiate our product in our space. And it turns out that this is actually pretty challenging when the differentiations you're going after are really complex ideas. Sometimes like static prototypes just don't cut it. So for example, one hypothesis we have and a shift that we're making in this space is around documentation organization. We feel that folders are just an ineffective mechanism for like organizing your digital content. Folders are antiquated, they're based off an analog filing system, and they're just not meant for the digital world. But when we first started talking to users, then we hadn't built anything yet, right? So we had prototypes, and sometimes we just had questions or ideas that we wanted to chat with users about. And when we started asking them about getting rid of folders and using something else, what we heard a lot of was, yeah, maybe that'll work. And that just isn't confidence-inspiring feedback. It's very nervous, right? Makes you very nervous when you get that. So what we did instead was we built a really simple organizational mechanism that we call collections. It allows you to tag a document with multiple collections rather than putting it in a single folder. And what this allowed us to do was like break down those barriers. So now when we talk to users, they're able to get out of the mindset of a rigid folder construct and start to imagine what else we might be able to do with collections. How do we expand on this idea? And we're having really great conversations about those underlying user needs and what's causing frustration. So in summary, if you are thinking about launching your MVP and you're nervous about it, just go for it. It's definitely worth it. It's important to know your target audience. It's important to know how to target them. But as long as you have clear goals about what you want to achieve, you'll get really good early learnings. If you want to know anything more about Clubhouse, I'm here all day. Or about Clubhouse, right? We are also hiring, so come check me out. Bye.